Hello, hi everybody. Welcome to lesson 11 of Funerary Archaeology free course. This course is 6 weeks long, is meant to be an entry level, very basic information about funerary archaeology and anthropologie de terrain, with many examples from past society, in particular those of classical world. So, I'm waiting for new people to come. I'm presenting myself. I'm Lucia. I'm your tutor for those lessons and today's lesson. I'm a physical anthropologist or bioarchaeologist from Italy. And I'm very glad for you to join me today. So, shall we begin? I want to thank you all for your kindness, for your comments, and your participation. Okay, I'm waiting for more people to come. Okay. So, oh, sorry. My computer froze again. I know. Sorry again. I hope everything is all right. Okay. I've got an old computer. Sorry, everybody. So, today's lesson, as we all can see from the title, is about Aegean burial practice. And by Aegean, I mean all the past society who lived starting from the Neolithic area down to the Bronze Age up to the classical time, also called classical area or period, in the area which consists of the Isle of Crete, the Isles of Cyclades, and some other island, and the Greek mainland, the so-called Peloponnesium, the part of the certain Greece, and that part of Thessaly in the very center of Greece. The very first civilization that happened in that specific area, very first civilization of interest, high civilization, if we could call that so, with statue, palaces, craftsmanship, writing, developed in the Isle of Crete, and the Bronze Age civilization of Crete is known under the name of Minoan, and that name came from the legend, from the myth, after the legendary king Minos of Knossos, which the legend said was the chief of the city of the island, the the son of the chief of the city, and the very much important, and we can call it capital city of Crete was Knossos. The Bronze Age of the mainland of Greece is instead known under the name of Helladic, and that name came from the Greek name of Greece, which is Hellas. That civilization have been divided by archaeologists through material findings, especially pottery, and they be categorized and very chronologically imposed and divided into three main stages, and they have also some more different stages. The stages are the principal one, the first three main stages of those civilization are the so-called early, middle, and late. Early Minoan, early Helladic, middle Minoan, middle Helladic, late Minoan, late Helladic. There are, as I said, further subdivisions. They have been made through changes in the style of pottery and other products that are associated with each separate culture. The civilization that arose in the mainland under the influence of Crete around more or less the 16th century before Christ is called Mycenaean, after Mycenae, that town. Mycenae happened to be one of his most important centers. The term Mycenaean sometimes is also used into archaeological record and literature for all the civilization of the Aegean area from about the 15th century before Christ onward. But today we are focused especially on the past civilization of ancient Crete, the Minoan. So there is a lot of the Minoan society that we don't know. We know they have a subtle way of live their life. They have palaces, law, a very structured and rigid division of society. They even have their own language, their so-called Minoan hieroglyphics or linear A, which is still unknown. It's a pictographic, as the name hieroglyphic suggests to you, way of writing. And some scholars think that they can identify certain character to certain group of words, but still it's not enough to know. But the Minoan society live for our study so much to know if we based our study on burial evidence and practices. It's the area of their past lives that we know the most. So what was the meaning of that in Minoan civilization? The Minoans had a complex religion pretty much similar to those of ancient Greece, to the Mycenaean one also, and much close to the one of that part, which is still not included in that chart, but that part of Asia, the so-called Asia Minor, and also Egypt, because as the past scholar of ancient times and the documents that we possess suggest, the Keftio, that's the name through which many scholars recognize the name of the ancient population of Crete, into some palace inscription in Egypt. They were known as one of the tribes of the population that live through maritime sea commerce, and they also were known under the name of pirate. So it was a population that was full in the center of the Mediterranean and had many contacts with the biggest society that lived nearby. So their the culture was shaped also because of this contact. They have many things in common. One, for example, was the goddess and the god of animal, which is pretty much similar to the one of Minor Asia, Asia Minor, for instance. And they had also some deity, one which was assimilable, was close to the later classical god of thunder, Zeus, which lived into the depth of a mountain in Greece. So they shared the same pantheon, if we could say so, the same ideology and mythology of deities, which were a lot. And they also said that, and they also believed that they had belief in afterlife. So the religion helped them to transition the dead one from the world of the living to the world of dead, to the afterlife. The main way of dispose the dead body was the inhumation or the burial. Cremation was present, but very, very, very early in time and not so much consistent through the areas and through the main specific stages that I was underlining before. It was particularly chosen during the Neolithic time, but later on the inhumation was the main one. Grave goods were placed alongside the body, and the body, which was laid in different positions, but especially laid on one side or was crouched, as we will see later, was very close together, and their grave goods were a part of their daily life, items from the daily life. And there were found also vases and other pottery, and not so pottery, even glass one, such as the rhythm, which were linked to ceremonial drinking and eating, ceremonial rites, funerary rites near the tomb. So all of this made us believe that the Minoans saw death as a continuation of life in which the deceased soul need the same tool he had while living. About the type of the tomb, there are some different types of tomb, but the three main one, the three most used were the chamber tomb, the house tomb, and the circular tomb or tholos singular, tholoi plural. The chamber and the house tomb were found mainly in the northern east part of Crete island, while the circular one, the tholos, was peculiar of the southern part of the island. The oldest form of burial or type of burial in Crete was the chamber tomb. They were tombs cut directly into the rock in the hills, as we can see here from that picture. They feature a chamber, as we can see, which was of different types. Mainly it was rectangular or some sort of oval circular, and they had a dromos or an entryway to the chamber. The dromos and the chamber were divided by blocks of rocks, by a sort of a wall, to prevent robbery and access to the tomb itself. Most of the chambers tomb, they had on their side, they contained at their inside a lot of bodies and a vast collection of grey goods. That specific tomb, type of tomb, was used for and linked to a specific clan, a specific family into the community. So it was used over generation from generation. And the dead body, as we see here, were placed on the center of the chamber itself, or on benches, rock benches, that were carved along the walls. Sometimes there was even a staircase, because the chamber tombs were cut on rocks, so there is at this level a different position from the entrance to the main chamber itself. And sometimes, because those specific type of tombs were used for many years, and they were full of dead bodies, so the space wasn't enough, and it was used also it was used also the dromos to place the dead body. As we can see here, the dead body was placed on one side or laying with the face up. They have different type of grey goods. We can see some vases, some pottery, here another one, some sort of probably this is a sword, weaponry, if it was a case of a man, of piece of jewelry, of clothing accessories, if it was the case of a female. And also there was the practice of reduction, because since there were so much body buried there, they need space. So when they need new space for a new dead body to place into the tomb, they reduced the skeletonized one, the most ancient ones, and sometimes they get rid of the bones completely, they throw it away, but sometimes they placed in a corner of the chamber area. Sometimes they even buried the little that remains from precedent burials, the position of inhumation, and that was clear to us because archaeologists find out traces of burning in the walls of the chamber. So there was also another rite, another ceremony that happened from time to time. The second and later type of burial is that of how the so-called house tomb. House tomb, it's as the name suggested, and that reconstruction show you. There are literally houses for the dead. It was a rectangular tomb. Roughly, it was the same size of a Minoan house, and it does contain many square or rectangular spaces, rooms inside. So it was also used, the house tombs, from many generations. But it would we can see that from the previous time, the one of the chamber tomb, something in their ideology changed, and since the house tombs, that I repeat myself, are much more common in the northern and eastern part of Crete, maybe suggest another form of contact from the ancient Crete society, the Minoans, to population of Asia and probably Egypt. Archaeologists, as in that reconstruction shows, believes that the house of the dead had a sort of roof which was similar to Minoan houses, and that served also as a reconstruction of a Minoan house. But it's still hard to know which type of coverage and the exact shape of it was, because as you can see there, we mainly have the the planimetry, the fundamental part, the fundaments of the specific type of tomb. It was really a nice one. Also, just the same of the chamber tombs, it was believed that the house tombs have a sort of dromos, of space of access to the tomb itself in the surrounding area, and in that specific area of the necropolis, the area of access to the tomb itself, it was believed, and sometimes it was found out, a sort of altar, and that symbolized the that there were taken rites during the year from time to time for the cult of the dead. Another type, as I was mentioning before, of burial was the one of a circular one, the so-called tholos. This is a tholos near the village of Philaki, and it was carved out. As you can see, this is the dromos and the entrance, and that is the coverage, the very specific type of coverage of a tholoi and tholos, which was made of a cylindric, circular type of roof, which was made up of rocks, specifically chosen from and prepared in their dimension to be enclosed one to another, entwined together, up, layer after layer, to create the shape of the vault. And usually a tholos has some sort of central pillar that help to maintain the stability of the roof. This is another view from another tholos. And the chamber is pretty much similar to that of the chamber room, oval to square sometimes type of a chamber. And you can see here the benches on the perimeter of the area of the internal part of the tomb. So now we talk about the external architecture of the tombs. What about the body? There were different types of treatment of the body and burial practice around Crete, but the most common one was the one under the form of larnax. What is a larnax? Is a chest-sized coffin in which the remains of the dead body were inhumated, were buried. The larnax, or larnaces in plural, were made of terracotta, which is baked clay, and their structure resembled a wooden chest. Archaeologists have suggested that the Minoans, as I was saying before, they were sea traders, adapt that specific practice from the wooden chest that were used in Egypt at this time. Also kind of reminds of a sarcophagus, doesn't it? So the larnaces were decorated often with wavy patterns, and some scholars believe that sort of wavy patterns resemble the sea, the waves of the sea, which played an important role into the Minoan society and life. They have even a roof, and other type of larnax show images that came from hunting and animals, which maybe recollect to the decoration of palaces and cult places of the Asia Minor main population that live at the same time. In 2018, it was found out an intact Minoan tomb, which was found out around in the center part of the island, and from pottery, which was found out, it was dated by the archaeologist to the late Minoan period, around the 15th to 13th century. And that was, as you can see, was a chamber tomb. And we can see here, from different perspective, the larnax. These are the handle that were used to transport it. That is part of the grave goods, external of the body. And there are goods, as we can see, from drinking. There is sometimes of a vessel used to contain wine and other drinks. Something that the person who was inhumated, buried there, probably needed in the afterlife. But also they were used for the living, by the living, for rites and cults. This is another view from the same tomb. And that is the body contained. You can see that the bones are not in their anatomical position. They were placed randomly, as it seems. There is also some fragment of pottery, for probably there was some kind of grave goods even in the inside of the larnax. And there is some sign also of burned bones, and probably this suggested that larnax was used for more than one singular individual, even though the larnaces were used from an individual burial for a singular person to be buried here. And that happened in a change of the beliefs in the Minoan society around the middle Minoan period. We passed from family or clan burial with a collective and multiple type of burial from a singular one. Also, another type of inhumation was the one in Pithos, in Pithoi. Pithos is that vessel, that ceramic pottery type that was used to contain food supplements. And as you can see here, the dead was placed crouched, accompanied, joined by its own grave goods, vessels, some types of metal object, probably pins and other metal garments that were part of the dress, the cloth. And usually the burial into Pithos were specific of children. It has an early history. It was used since the Neolithic area, and usually the children which were buried in the Pithoi, and that specific ritual is known in the archaeological record under the name of Enkithrismos, was pretty much common of all the Mediterranean society, and they were buried on the first store under their houses. So they were placed pretty much close to the houses of the family to have them close. But sometimes during the long history of Minoan society, that specific kind of burial was adapted from children to adults. But it has not a long life. The burial into the Larnakis was the main one and the much more used. So for today, we only covered that part of Aegean society, which was the Minoan one. Tomorrow we will focus on the Mycenaean one. And so if you have any question, please let me know. If you find that lesson interesting, again, please let me know. I try to be as more basic and simple as I could. The ancient Crete society, the Minoan one, is one of many fascination, given also that it does not left us writing and some sort of written documents. So I'll show some comments. Thank you, Leandro. I hope that you find that lesson interesting. So tomorrow we will see each other around the same time. As I was mentioning in the past week, that week I was delaying the time of the lessons because I've got some problems here at home, so it was not possible for me to make the lesson earlier. But I hope that you will see the video lesson later on, and that you will comment on the Google Classroom or under that video on YouTube. So see you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.